Folks, welcome back to Flat Irons Tuning. We're here in the shop, and in front of me I have the ring and pinion gear out of our rally car because, it decided it did not like what we were doing with it, and we had a problem. We had to replace this, but I figured this is a perfect opportunity to talk about the rear ring and pinion ratio that everybody gets confused by with Subarus, which is the 3.545 rear ring and pinion, because that's what this is. So we're going to dive into it. Before I do, I just want to say, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Head over to Flat Irons Tuning to support us so we can keep coming back and making this content for you. And if you're watching on mobile and you see the hype button, hit that so we can get the word out about this video and hopefully demystify this 3.545 rear ring and pinion ratio. What is it? How does it work? And why is it so weird? Okay, so Subarus are all-wheel drive cars. And there's a final drive ratio. Because they're all-wheel drive cars, you're driving the front and the rear axle. That means that the ring and pinion ratio has to be the same for the front and the rear axle together. Most Subarus, that's the case. If you look up the rear ring and pinion ratio and the front ring and pinion ratio, for most Subarus, they're the same. 3.9 to 1 on both cases. 411, 444, both front and rear, it's the same. Except 2-liter WRXs, 2002 to 2005 WRXs, and then in the STI, starting in late 2006, they switched to a 3.545 rear ring and pinion ratio. All of the rest of the years of STI from late 2006 to 2021 use that 3.545 rear ring and pinion ratio. And that's what's different about those two groups of cars. They have a different rear ring and pinion ratio from the front, because the fronts are all still 3.9 to 1. How is that? And first, actually, let's even say, how do you tell what ratio the ring and pinion is? Well, simple answer is you count the teeth. How do you do that? One of them at a time. But if they're not so easily removed like this, you just, put a mark on them, go around. And if you can see it, actually both the pinion gear and the ring gears have the tooth count stamped on them. So in this case, we have 11 teeth on our pinion gear, and we have 39 teeth on our ring gear. And again, it's stamped on both of these, if you can rotate everything around and see it. Now, if you do that math, 39 divided by 11, what you're going to get is 3.545, which is not a surprise. We knew that that's what we had here. But now, why is it 3.545? And where it gets people really confused is the final drive of the cars that use this, it's still a 3.9 to 1 final drive. How does that work? Well, the answer is the transfer gear in the transmission. We've said this in a bunch of our videos about 6-speed swaps and so on. If you run the serial number of the transmission, you're going to find a chart, and one of the details in that chart is going to be the transfer gear ratio. That's 2 gears in the transfer coming out. The transfer gear picks up the output shaft and then drops it down to send it out the propeller shaft, and there's 2 gears there. Now, if you have the same number of teeth on both gears, say 10 teeth and 10 teeth, that's a 1-to-1 transfer gear ratio. In the case of these transmissions that use the 3.545 rear ring and pinions, you have something roughly like 11 teeth and 10 teeth, a 1.1 to 1 transfer ratio. It's not a 1 to 1. It's not the same. That's how this works. I hate to say it, there's a little bit more math here. Basically, if you take 3.545 times 1.1, you get, it's almost 3.9. It's 3.8995, but we're going to just round up and we're going to say it's 3.9 to 1. That's how this works. You're basically getting the same final drive ratio in the rear. You're just doing it in 2 steps. You're doing it a little bit in the transfer gears and then finishing it in the ring and pinion, versus having a 1-to-1 transfer gear where it's sending out the same rotations as it sends to the front and then having the same ratio front to rear. Okay, now, why would Subaru do this? Well, we have 2 guesses. The first guess is because the rear ring and pinion is kind of a taller ratio, the propeller shaft is going to be spinning slower. So, maybe there's less, drivetrain losses, maybe it's more efficient. The second guess is, well, again, the math, it doesn't come out to be exactly 3.9 to 1. It's just ever so slightly lower than that. So I think that what that means is that the rear wheels are going to drag ever so slightly, and I mean ever so slightly behind the front. And so maybe that makes the car a little bit more stable because the rear is dragging a little bit more as opposed to the front. That's our best guess as to why they do it. But effectively, even though it's a 3.545 ring and pinion ratio, it's still a 3.9 final drive for all of these cars. And that's what throws people off. I know it's confusing, but hopefully this helps it make sense, because just a little bit of math and you can see that they're just getting to the same final drive just in 2 steps instead of 1. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that clarifies it. Thanks very much for your support as always. And until next time, stay tuned to Flat Irons Tuning.